What's going on, everybody? It's Jamie.
And John.
And welcome to the Eh-To-Zed Reseller podcast. How's it going this week, John?
Oh, not too bad. You'll notice a little bit of a different backdrop. We talked about it. I'm dog sitting a little bit, so
yeah,
I'll apologize in advance if these couple of border collies who love to make a lot of noise and run around and be rambunctious make an appearance in this video or make me, call out and use foul language and anything else. But no, pretty good though. This is just another one of the things that I do to pick up some extra cash. And this one's not too bad. It's only like 25 minutes from home, so I can still go home and do whatever I got to do. No interruptions.
That's not too bad. I still have a few things I do on the side still to make a few extra bucks. It's always nice to have that, right? Like, I mean, I know you still have a regular paycheck, but just to have a little bit of extra cash is always a nice thing. You can use it for anything. I'd say mostly the things that we do that are fun come out of that, and then responsible things come out of the business money. But yeah, it's nice to have.
Whenever I make this whenever I make this extra cash, doing the dog thing, whatever, maybe I just kind of have an extra $300 or something. That's like, okay, I'll put that aside, and because I know I've got to, like with the car, I know I've got to do an oil change and like get the undercoating done within the next month, and I might as well like balance and rotate the tires as well, get it all ready for winter. So it's like, okay, I'll just, instead of having to worry about that coming out of a paycheck, I'll just set that money aside. And now, will all of that money make it? Will all of my dog sitting money make it to the thing that I'm gonna spend it on? Probably not. I'm probably gonna go. There's an Indian restaurant 5 minutes away from me that has like amazing food, and I'm like, I can eat Indian food every day. So yes, of course, I'm gonna go spend like $40 on some Indian food and feast over the next couple of days. But for the most part, I'll use it responsibly.
Nice, yeah, Indian food. We're just starting to get into that a little bit, and some of it's pretty spicy. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I love it. So spicy stuff doesn't bother me, but I just love the flavor palette of Indian food, like various curries and. I think I'm going to pick up, I've already forgotten the name of it. I think it's called aloo gobi, which is like a fried potato and cauliflower, like spiced curryish kind of a dish. And then, of course, the classic is chana masala, which is just like chickpeas and like a spicy tomato gravy kind of thing over rice. Like, yeah. I'm already salivating, man. I swear I could eat it every day.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty tasty. I have an update for you. Do you remember me telling you last week about the shoes that got lost potentially in the hurricane? And yeah. So so I was kind of going along with the motions because eBay, they don't let you jump the gun. There's a certain date when they can jump in, and you're supposed to try to communicate with the buyer. But the buyer never ever communicated with me. So for us, it would have been the holiday Monday. I just messaged eBay's AI bot and convinced it that I needed someone to call me. So they gave me a phone call. And that's the best manipulation you can do, is go jump into that AI chat bot in eBay and keep telling it, call me, make up a reason. A lot of times it doesn't even need to be a valid reason. You just need it to agree that it's going to call you, and then you can talk about whatever you want. So that's a little hack for someone looking to talk to somebody at eBay. But essentially what happened was the tracking all of a sudden pushed, and it showed received by an agent. And I'm like, what does that mean? So then when I spoke to somebody, they're like, yeah, this is definitely like a forwarding company. So I don't know if they're going to wind up in Japan or Germany or wherever, but this place is known to be a forwarder. And what they actually did on my behalf, he's like, because we know that's what this is, we're going to consider this delivered. And they basically took away any capability for negative feedback. And he just said, that's it. And end of story. So this person now, regardless, is going to be stuck with these shoes. As far as eBay is concerned, my part of it's over. Hopefully that's true, because I've never actually had somebody do that. Because normally, I guess because it's received and delivered to that agency, right? Maybe they don't consider feedback from that agency the same as a person who bought it, because it isn't the same person. It's a really weird, those companies are really weird the way that they work.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, I think that's the best way for eBay to handle it. And hopefully that is exactly what, they're doing what they say, because, obviously if you didn't get a reply from the buyer, like if you messaged, they never communicated with you in any way or anything like that. There was just all of a sudden this claim opened. Well, does anybody really expect some random person who works at this forwarding agency or company to like work with you and provide, proper communication? So like that's all stuff like the eBay buyer themselves would typically need to do. So yeah, I mean, no one's going to want to speak for somebody else, and yeah, that's the right thing. They should call that just dead end delivered. And if somebody's using a forwarding company or something like that, then that's the risk that they take. Like if I was buying something from Russia and wanted to use some forwarder, in Kazakhstan as my way of getting it here to Canada, like then yeah, I would expect that the people in Kazakhstan are those, they're my actual customer at that point, right?
Yeah, it's funny though how that's not clear in the transaction until it becomes an issue where somebody's going to be like, "Oh, actually, this is what's happening," and then it's a lot more clear because on my behalf, I'm like, this person's not talking to me. They've opened a claim at the weirdest time, and I'm just sort of there like I'm the only. To me, it felt like I'm the only person actively trying to do anything productive, and I'm just waiting now on eBay to like step in and help me. And then it did all work out. It is a little frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
well, I'm glad it all worked out.
Yeah, me too. Especially on something that's not. It's not even that the sale was a lot of money, but for those shoes, I paid up, right? I think, well, not paid up, but I paid $20 for the shoes, so it wasn't like I bought them for $10 or $5 or picked them out of the bins. So those losses hurt a little more when you pay up for stuff. We talked just for a second before we started recording. You said you had a bit of a slow week, for sales.
Yeah, just a little bit. Man, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Like sales were absolutely dismal last week. They were almost non-existent. I mean, we're talking a couple $100 when I'm used to being in that 8 to 1,000 range, and they'd been down in the 4 and 500s for a few weeks, and thinking, okay, it'll turn around at some point. And then all of a sudden I have like a $200 week. I'm like, what the hell do I need to do? It made absolutely zero sense. I'm doing everything right. I'm listing. I'm taking care of everything. I don't know what to do. Now this week already, now we're filming this on a Thursday, but by Monday, like I start my week on Sunday. So between Sunday and Monday of this week, I had already outsold my total from last week in 2 days. So, it does look like it's come back, back up to the lower amount. But yeah, it's just weird, man, because I just don't know. I don't understand. Like, it's a little frustrating because I'm doing all the things that I should be doing, and just people aren't buying my stuff. I don't get it. I went 5 days in a row without making a sale on Poshmark.
Yeah,
that never happens. Like, Poshmark is pretty much a guarantee that I'll make a sale daily or every other day at the most. Like, that's pretty much a guarantee for me.
I wonder if that has anything to do with them pushing a lot more of the fees and stuff to the buyers, because it would look a little different on their end too, right? The other thing too is I think it may be actually just on the US closet, but they're doing some promotion with shipping where you shouldn't have any shipping discounts on in Sidekick, because you're kind of like you're paying for it where you don't need to. But yeah, I can't think of anything else in Poshmark that really would have changed besides the fee structure. But even then, we're not talking about like a huge jump, right? Maybe it's a little surprising to somebody to see that they're paying the extra in fees, but you wouldn't think it would like tank your sales totally.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe where I sell a lot of kind of bread and butter, $20 to $25 items, maybe now if those people are seeing a little fees on that, and all of a sudden it's a $30 item, that's just the threshold that they don't want to pay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no way to like I could figure out the fee structure and say, okay, on a $23 item, if I was normally taking, offering 10% off and $9.99 shipping, and this was the normal fees, I could figure out like how much now the buyer would be seeing on that, and then just go in and revise all of my pricing down on those items by say $2. But I really shouldn't have to do that. Like that's a huge pain in the butt to have to do that. I mean, I think I'm going to have to at some point, but I have made some sales recently where it actually doesn't appear that the new fee structure has taken place.
Okay.
Like I have sold something. Actually, I'll look one up here on Poshmark now. So I don't know. Maybe there's just like some issues going on behind the scenes because, yeah, I sold an item on the 13th. So what's that? 4 days ago.
Yep.
For $30. It wasn't on an offer or anything. It was $30, and my earnings were $24. That's $6. That's 20%. That is the exact same fee structure as it has always been.
Yeah.
So wouldn't my earnings be a little higher if the new fee structure took place and now that buyer's picking up some portion of that? Like, it shouldn't be exactly the same, right?
No. I mean, I have not deep dived in exactly. I know from what I've heard from other people on lower value items, it seems like you pay more. They want to, I think they're like trying to basically incentivize you to like sell things worth more money.
Oh, okay.
To make better profits. I mean, they don't care. They're going to make the same money either way. But yeah, I don't know. That doesn't seem right. I would have thought. I don't deep dive in my numbers so much, so I don't really look at those type of things a ton. I should look at them more, but I really don't. I just sort of try to keep sales moving. I know with me too, like I could understand a bit of frustration for you with two platforms. Like I'm currently on 4, and if I wasn't diversifying into 4 and just relying on 2, I think I would feel it a little worse because I'll have a week where Depop really performs and then Poshmark doesn't, and eBay just sort of trucks along and does its usual eBay thing and sometimes blows up and does really well, but normally just kind of stays along the same path. But I do find like having more diversity, if I didn't have it, I think I'd be in a tougher situation for sure. But I mean, there's only so many places you can sell too, right? Like you have to have options for shipping and whatever. But
yeah, I mean, I might, I don't know, it might be time to pull the trigger and do the US Poshmark. Because I mean, I did look into that Stallion Express thing, and you know, if I'm making a few sales a week, even if it was like 5 sales a week, it would still be worth it for me to like send everything to them using a UPS label and then have them, you know, ship it out from there, like as a freight forwarder or a cross-border shipper. Like that would still work. But my fear is that, okay, I'm going to make like 1 sale a week or maybe 2 sales, and now all of a sudden I'm going to pay to get it UPS to them, plus, you know, the shipping label comes out of it, and I'm basically making no money. Or even losing money, right, if I sell 1 cheap item.
Yeah, I could see that. I shipped a smaller order that way today to avoid having to go to London because I had just went on Tuesday because of the holiday. I'm like, oh, I don't really want to go back up there. I shipped, I think, about 8 items in a box for $12.
Yeah.
To me, it still made sense. Now, some of those, that wasn't all Poshmark, right? Like I'm sending my eBay orders that way in Depop. That was just what I sold over. I think we talked about this last week too, or if we didn't talk about it in the recording, man, holidays mess me up so bad just because, you know, that Monday off, Monday's normally the day I go ship stuff. And then now everything's kind of out of sync. And then because I don't just run up to my regular Canada Post around the corner, you know, now I have to decide, do I want to wait till Friday or keep in the same schedule so everything links back up? It just makes my whole week feel like I'm running backwards. And then by the time the next week starts, I'm finally maybe feeling like I'm caught up. But
yeah, I get that. Long weekends definitely mess me up too. I mean, I appreciate them probably more than you do, you know, because I still got the 40-hour regular job that now I get the day off. But it does. It messes everything up. Like for a whole week, sometimes I'm like, oh wait, isn't it supposed to be Wednesday today? And Oh no, cool. It's Thursday, so it's working in my favor this week for that. But then other things are like, okay, I was supposed to do this today, and then I'm just completely lost. Like I actually, so I bowl on Monday evenings, and I actually drove. Like I forgot that we didn't do it this week because of the holiday. But then I was actually driving to bowling on Tuesday night, thinking it was Monday because I had had the day off previous to that, so I thought it was Sunday. So I'm like, I leave my yard and I'm driving down the road to go to Monday night bowling on Tuesday. And it's like, wait a second, what am I doing? It's not Monday for one, but even if it was, we were taking the week off. So I don't know. It completely messed me up. Um, but yeah, and then with like banking holidays, like it taking an extra day longer to get your funds from Poshmark because I always cash out on Sunday evenings
Okay.
from Poshmark, and then it's almost always in my bank account by Tuesday morning. But if Monday's a bank holiday or something like that, then sometimes it doesn't get through till Wednesday. But like every Tuesday is when I do all of my transferring of funds. Like this is when I do my meticulous, I send all my e-transfers and pay any bills, put money in my reselling account, send my girlfriend whatever her payout for the week is, like, because we split the profits to go towards debts and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm so messed up when that's thrown off and I have to wait until Wednesday. And then it's like Thursday or Friday, I'm like, oh crap, I didn't do any of that yet.
Yeah. I'm always interested to hear how people deal out their earnings from eBay too. I know myself, I every week I get paid by eBay. So every Tuesday usually hits the bank account, right?
Yeah.
And then my Poshmark, I just let the entire month build up. But I look at my Poshmark payout normally as it pays like my hydro bill, internet bill, just all my bills come from that money. And then anything left over, which fingers crossed there's extra money, not pulling from somewhere else. That money, I'll put in savings or do something else with. And then the US money that I get from Poshmark, it just sits in a slush fund for when I feel like going on vacation or we go to the States or I have just bought things online from like American websites in US dollars just to make it a little easier.
Right.
Uh, yeah. So I don't know. I've dabbled with the idea of taking the money from Poshmark every week. And it's probably a better idea because I mean, chances are Poshmark's big enough they're not going to go away overnight. But if anything ever happened and you've got a bunch of money in there, you'd eventually get the money probably, but
Right.
not exactly a bank. I don't know if you should be storing your money in there for long term.
Yeah, true. I mean, I like the weekly thing only because like we're aggressively trying to pay down some debts and stuff like that. So it feels really good every week, even if it's just like an extra $50 you're putting on a credit card or something like that.
Yeah.
The way to keep up that momentum for us. I mean, obviously it could just be on a monthly basis, but it adds a little bit of a fun factor when it's like every single week you're just putting some more money down.
Yeah. And you're not relying on that. That's on top of your income, right? So
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
luckily, I'm in a position where I'm not relying on any of this reselling income to pay any of the bills or anything. I mean, obviously, there's times where an unexpected bill comes up. Like got to take the cat to the vet or something happens where it's like, okay, well, it's obviously much easier just to use this money that's right here than like have to dip into savings or have to dip into putting something back on a card or on a credit or something. So sometimes we will just use like reselling income just to take care of that. And then that week we don't have an extra payment on the credit card or whatever, but like that makes more sense than taking away from our savings or like putting back on debt. So that's the only reason we do that.
Yeah. I had not an unexpected thing this week, but something that I certainly took for granted before. So I went just to the dentist for a regular cleaning. Um, and I've had benefits for like the last 20 years before I decided to do this. So not having benefits, it's like I'm sitting there at the dentist and they're like, is it okay if we take x-rays? I'm like, no, for what? Right? Like
Yeah.
$60. I'd rather keep the $60. You can x-ray someone else's head.
Yeah, exactly.
um, but yeah, I'm like, okay, just a cleaning, $210, I think.
Yeah.
And I think I go not as often as a lot of people might. I think maybe every 6 months or something, I'll go get like, the cleaning. I think I've got like a crack and an old filling that I have to go back and get fixed. But I'm like, oh man, like paying out of pocket, like definitely something. Your teeth is something you want to have for as long as you can in your life. And I have
Mhm.
healthy teeth, so I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, that's one of those things where if you do have benefits, it's like, oh geez, you take that for granted a bit. I'm generally a pretty healthy guy too. Like I don't take any recurring medication or anything like that. So, benefits have never really been a big deal for me. But, you know, for somebody who maybe does take things daily, it would be a big thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, that's definitely a huge benefit to still having like, the full time day job and stuff like that, and having the benefits. And I think I get like 80% of my dental or something like that, which is great.
Yeah.
Um, but but I think like so, and obviously, you do whatever you want to do, and it's your decision. But I think that even if, like, say, a couple years from now, I did decide that I was gonna like bow out of my day job, which I mean is likely never going to happen. I get to work from home. I got it pretty easy, I'm going to say. But let's say I did decide to buy out, I probably would still want to try to pick up like some kind of a medical and dental plan, like,
Yeah.
through whoever it is, like Blue Cross or whoever else, just to have some kind of coverage. Because, I mean, let's face it, man, we're in our 40s and something can go down at any time, right?
That,
Like,
the one thing, so I thought the same as you. And the thing is, when you actually start looking into it, most of them, if you used all of the benefits, you would get your money back. Otherwise, you're just paying into them. You need to be a
oh,
person
okay,
who actively needs it for it to be worth it.
gotcha.
You're paying for something that might eventually happen, but in the meantime, you're overpaying more than you would ever pay.
I gotcha.
What our plan is, hopefully, maybe at some point, that the spa that we own, maybe at some point we'll figure out a plan where we can take employees and whatever, and then
Mhm.
we can be umbrellaed into that. That would be the best case scenario. But yeah, paying out of pocket, man, it's crazy. It'd be like, I don't know. When I looked, I was like disgusted. I think it was like about something like almost like $4,000 each or something a year.
Wow.
Yeah, like I'd never used
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I take that all back. You can just leave
it.
leave it in or edit it out. Either way,
I don't
I've
know.
learned something today.
Maybe
No, that's good.
somebody in the comments will say, "Hey, check this out. This is really affordable and whatever." Right? I don't know,
Yeah.
but
No, that's
yeah,
good
when
info.
I looked into it, not good.
Yeah. No, that's good info. I always assumed that it would make sense to have a plan, but I mean, if you're paying in basically, I mean, even if you're saving just a tiny bit, but you're paying in and it really only makes sense if you're using all of it, then I mean, yeah, obviously, if you don't have regular recurring issues, then it doesn't make sense to do that. Like, I'm not going to go and pick up a plan that has, um, all kinds of different benefits like massage therapy or things like that. And,
Yeah,
like you're just paying for a massage. Like, that's not really a plan. That's just, yeah.
yeah.
That reminds me though, I actually think I do have like maybe up to a $500 yearly credit for massage therapy
Mhm.
that I can use through my workplace, and I've never used it once.
Oh, really?
And I don't know what the hell I'm doing, because this whole thing has just triggered this thought that, damn, I could use a massage. What am I doing? Like, if I've got that much of a credit every year, why have I never done it? I've been with this company for like 12 years.
Yeah, I use those benefits up quite often. Actually, still, I pay and go get uh massage still, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think when I was covered through work, me and my wife would go to this really fancy place that we had no business going to in Niagara Falls. This is like an
Okay.
adult, like it was a adult only spa, and so there's like no kids, it's just adults. Everything's like very up class, and we show up in like book bags and like band shirts. I'm sure we don't fit in whatsoever.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
gonna go relax.
yeah.
So we would do that. I think we'd like burn through most of our benefits just in that place, but we'd do it a couple times a year, just because it was something we wouldn't typically do. But it was a lot of fun.
Nice, nice. I'm just sorry. I'm just noticing that I got a couple of notifications on my phone, and I'm just putting it to do not disturb so that I don't get a pesky Teams call or something, which kills the live.
Yeah,
There we
yeah, I did that right after we hit record. I'm like, whoops, and then I had to go go ahead and do the same thing?
I mean, I know it every week, and I just, for whatever reason, you know, I don't know.
So it can't be all doom and gloom. You must have still had a sale of the week.
I did. I had a sale of the week that it's worth talking about. So it actually came in my own personal collection. So there's no buy cost here. I mean, obviously an initial buy cost, but I sold Turok for the N64 complete in box, and it sold for $60. And also, this was a perfect candidate to use the free shipping from Canada Post. The every Tuesday free shipping, because the buyer was in a rural part of Ontario. So from here in rural Nova Scotia, it actually they paid $26 for expedited parcel.
Wow.
You know, and we're just talking like an N64 game, so it's not a big package by any means, but it was just because of the distance and the rural nature, $26 they paid in shipping. So of course I could go and use, you know, I'm going to keep that obviously instead of buying a label through eBay, and use my free shipment through the Snap Ship tool in Canada Post. So I get to keep all that as well. So I think after fees, instead of clearing like high 40s, I'm clearing, you know, low 70s, 70, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, that's a nice little bump up there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty good margin on that, especially where I had no buy cost.
Yeah, for sure. So I had a comic book sale, which turned into multiple comics. We're not talking about a lot of money, but it worked out to be pretty good. So I had like a $15 Green Lantern comic, and for some reason I only had a picture of the cover in my listing. I don't know if I was just being lazy that day or didn't upload all the photos, but the guy just said, "Hey, can you take like some more photos, like front, back, maybe just a couple random pages?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know why I didn't here." So I did that, and he's like, "Cool. Could you possibly? How do I do this?" He wanted 5 in total that I had. So after I showed him the condition was good, he's like, "Okay, like obviously you're not selling junk, right?" So, so I think he picked 5. Retail should have been 150, or no, sorry, $53. I said, "Well, I'll make you a listing for $50 plus shipping." And then as I'm going to process it, I'm like, "Oh wait, this guy's in Alberta. Why don't I?" And it's Tuesday. Why don't I just go ahead and use the free coupon? So I did that. It was going to be through Canada Post Snap Ship. It was going to be $18 from here to Alberta, wherever exactly it was. And yeah, free. So
Nice.
I probably wouldn't have paid. I'm going to guess honestly through Stallion Express, that same thing would have cost me like $8, but being that it's free and I could get it out a lot quicker because I can just take that label just to my regular Canada Post and get it out. I thought that was pretty good. So
Yeah,
a
sure.
little bundle deal on a bunch of comics that were all those ones pretty much hit like my minimum threshold of listing individuals, anywhere from 15 to like some of them were like $9. I think that was about the lowest. So bundling those up, pretty nice to get rid of, a handful of them anyway.
Well, yeah, especially since, that was a big bulk buy for you, and, you've been able to move quite a few of them, which is great.
Yeah.
But you always want to keep seeing those lower value ones just flow through, because you don't want to be stuck with a bunch of them 2 years from now. Like, even if you've made a bunch of money from it, you've made, like, you could make $2,000 from the whole deal. You still never want to be left with a stack after like 2 years. So it is nice to see those trickle through.
Yeah, for sure. And I've yet to do absolutely anything for grading yet. Every time I open this desk thing I'm using right now, they're like underneath in the bottom. Every time I open up, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to do something with those. That at some point I will get to that too. I'm so overwhelmed with relisting my store, to be honest with you. I'm through. I think this last bin will be the last of my t-shirts. But it's a lot. I mean, and it seems like, well, you should be able to go through quite a bit really quickly, but it does take time because when I delist something, I'm repricing it. Then I'm also going back and delisting it across Poshmark Canada, Poshmark US, and Depop. And then even though I'm using crossless magic, which will pop everything open and basically fill in as much as it can, you still have to go back and make sure, because we got some dog action.
We got some dog action.
Yeah. There's plenty of times though where you need to pay attention and fill things in. Otherwise, you're just gonna have listings that aren't right.
Right. Yeah. No, and I mean, relisting everything like that, yeah, it's going to take a lot of time. But obviously, you've already seen it paying off, so
Yeah.
it makes sense. I'm glad that you brought up cross listing because something I wanted to talk about today, which I forgot about, but that triggered me to remember, is so I actually didn't know about this. I must say I'm quite uneducated on some of the tools that I use, and even some of the tools that I'm an ambassador for, and even some of the tools that I'm getting the monthly subscription for free because I promote their stuff. So I'm talking about Posh Sidekick, of course, or
Yep.
whatever it's called now, Sidekick something or other, Sidekick Tools or something. So they merged the app. They have their cross listing app and the Sidekick Tools or whatever. That's all merged into one. I did not realize until yesterday that you should as well.
Mm-hmm.
25 free cross listings per month,
Okay.
as well as 10 something or other, I forget. But I just realized that, and I don't know if it would only be for us who's getting like the like as ambassadors for it, who are sharing, these affiliates, I guess is the word I'm looking for, or if it's for anybody who pays for the monthly subscription for Posh Sidekick. So I can't say that for any certainty. But I mean, how long has this tool been? How long have these apps been merged? At least a good month or so, right? Like,
yeah, they had been talking about doing it for forever, and then I think it finally did happen.
yeah,
Probably about a month ago. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So I didn't realize it. I had no idea until I was having a conversation with one of the folks at that site, and they're like, "Yeah, well, okay. I mean, would you make a video talking about this cross listing and stuff?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't know I could do that. So it was so it's pretty cool. Hopefully, hopefully this doesn't hurt my credibility as an affiliate for that. But I'm going to check it out anyway. The whole point was I don't do any cross listing because I only use eBay and Poshmark, right? And it's really not a big deal for me to make an eBay listing and then just copy paste over to Poshmark. It takes like 2 minutes. But I want to test it out, and not necessarily because that's the tool I want to use, so I'm not trying to shill it without ever having used it. But I'm wondering if in preparation for maybe getting to like Posh US, maybe jumping on Depop or something else like that, if just the concept of cross listing is going to work for me, or if I feel like I want to be in control and do things manually. I know that I'm going to save time if I'm using some kind of a tool, and you've talked about the one that you use. But yeah, I'm going to be dabbling in that in the next few days, and I'll let you know what I think anyway.
Yeah, I've not used their cross listing tool either, and I'll definitely try it. I'm on the same, like, there's no reason not to try it.
Yeah,
And yeah, I didn't know if it was free for us or not. I haven't looked too far into that side of it yet. But I know the one thing that I did watch a video of Michael talking about it. So Michael from Posh Sidekick, or Sidekick now, I guess, Sidekick Tools or whatever the new name of it is. I know he had said the only problem he had seen with like what I'm using, which is a browser extension.
mm-hmm.
Almost had to call a friend and get John to talk for me there. Jeez, this is terrible. Is that Google has a lot more control over shutting extensions down, and because it's controlling something, I think, outside of the realm of just like one thing or you, they could potentially decide to shut them down at any point, and then you wouldn't have access to that, right?
Right.
Which I don't know how realistic that is anyway. But just the fact that they control it, and it's not like a third party thing,
Right.
It makes it a lot easier. But I've not really tried it, to be honest. I will try it. The only thing I've ever tried similar to that, where all your listings were all together and it was supposed to delist, was Vendu. And I found Vendu to be not very Canadian friendly whatsoever. Where I know Sidekick is very conscious of Canadians and platforms that we use. So that's one of the big pluses, I think, for them, is that they recognize that, our platforms are just as important as the US ones.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's cool. Yeah. So I'm going to check it out anyway. I mean, I doubt I'm going to, I mean, obviously I'm going to use more than 25 in a month if I'm listing, and I'm listing every day and regular and stuff. So, I mean, if I only get 25 a month, I'm not going to pay some extra amount to like get whatever it is, unlimited or whatever, because I feel like I can do things manually, but it might be nice in a pinch, or with like maybe there's certain select items that I would use it for. I'm not really sure, but anyway, I'll have a full report for you next week anyway on what my experience was like.
That's pretty interesting for sure. I do think I know you're interested in Poshmark, but I mean like Poshmark US, but I think Depop would be interesting for you too, only because I'm sort of manipulating the system. I'm using a VPN and I have it set up where it's being shipped from my cross-border shipper. It looks like that anyway, but you don't have to. You can list in Canadian funds on there, and you can also ship just with Canada Post, and you don't have to have any of that stuff. And it would give you an opportunity to at least sell on a different platform that you wouldn't need the cross-border shipper. I just wanted mine to be in US funds. I was kind of hoping I was going to get paid out that way too, but it actually gets, well, I do technically. It goes into my PayPal account like that in US funds. But then anytime anytime you want to dump it back to your actual bank, it's going to convert it anyway.
Yeah, right on. No, it'd be interesting. I might need to play with that a little bit, because it'd be interesting to see how on Depop how they calculate like shipping label costs and things like that. Because I'm sure, is it the same way like on Depop? Is it the same that like the buyer pays the shipping and then you have to buy a label as well? It's not like Poshmark where that's all done and prepaid.
I think so. I wish so I'm manipulating it enough that it probably
okay. So you don't know.
I do. You can buy, so like you can set up a flat rate, which I do, and I charge and I buy my own labels. But because it looks like I'm from the US, there is an option to pick USPS and that you get the label through Depop.
Okay, so you could do like you can get your labels on the platform. You can probably do like calculated shipping then, I would assume.
Yeah. I just don't know if it works with Canada Post or not, because when I'm looking at it, the options it gives me is United States Postal Service. And I don't know if that's just because the way I have it set up.
Right.
I'm not sure, but yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the reason why I brought it up and why it's something I'll have to keep in mind is, so like on eBay, you know, they have negotiated really good discounted rates for a tracked packet. I mean, I can send something to Hawaii if it's not too big for like $8, whereas I can send it to the town next to me in Nova Scotia for 23.
Yeah.
So they have some really good Canada Post to US tracked packet rates that they've discounted, negotiated like 70% off retail or something. And it'd just be interesting to see like what, if anything, Depop has been able to negotiate, if anything, with Canada Post. So yeah, interesting. Because like they all do something, and they all bring something to the table for Canada Post. Like Canada Post obviously is, anytime there's a selling platform and they put Canada Post as an option to ship, that's potential for sales that they were never going to get. So like Poshmark, for example, negotiating that flat rate, eBay getting those discounted labels. I mean, it is in Canada Post's best interest. It's just, I wonder if Depop has the same pull as those two platforms to get some kind of discounted rate or some kind of, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it does seem pretty reasonable or pretty on par with what I'm paying for USPS labels is what they're charging. So, I assume so, as long as you can actually buy the Canada Post labels for them, which like I said, unfortunately, I'm not really sure if you can or not, but I do know you could definitely, buy your own labels and stuff, but you're just not going to get the same discount, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then maybe that's where the whole like Stallion Express shipping it in bulk and using them makes sense. But yeah, cool.
Yeah. I have noticed a big uptick though on Depop, and like it's pretty surprising to me how out of touch I was with some of my pricing. And I don't know if it's because of the fluctuation between the Canada US dollar or what, but I'm like, how did I ever, or like, why are some of these prices so high? And then when I look and it's like, it's like $3 less. So if it was a $20 item, maybe it's $23 in Canada. Well, $20 US is a lot more money still, right?
Yeah.
And it was like a $3 difference. I don't know if I was being lazy at some point and just being like, because of where the dollar sat or what. But when I'm actually like, which this makes sense, and it makes me sound like an idiot, honestly. When I actually comp the actual US price on eBay and list it at that price, it sells a lot easier than just trying to do
Mhm.
whatever the Canadian price is minus a little bit. So I think my prices that came back down to earth has obviously made a big difference in
Yeah.
sales on Depop for sure.
Well, I mean, it's tough when you're trying to figure out like what is that dollar value in the U.S. compared, like, because we know that the exchange rate's terrible. Like it's almost $1.40 right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does fluctuate. So maybe next year it's $1.20, and then that Canadian dollar just less a little bit does make more sense because it's actually closer. Like maybe it's still inflated a little bit, but it's not like stupid high. If you had $100 item in Canada and you were selling it for $80 in the US, maybe that's actually not so bad when your exchange is $1.20. It's pretty close. But when it's $1.40, now all of a sudden it's like $130 versus 100. Like, yeah, that's a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
But we just need our dollar to strengthen.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly. That would be a big help for sure. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below how your sales have been as Q4 just skyrocketed. Is it mediocre? Are the sales still bleak? Everybody seems to be on a different path. And, depending on what you're listing or depending on how the eBay gods reward you, sales can be different for everybody. If you guys like videos like this, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing for more content, and we'll see you guys soon.